Well, hey there. Welcome to a very special launch livecast we have today. I've got a very special gentleman here with you whose book is launching today, and I'm really excited about it. Greg has been working with our company for a while to get his book out, but this project has been long in the making because it comes from a journey that he's taken in his own life. And so I want to introduce you now to Greg Pestinger. So Greg, come on in. It is good.
Hello, Everett.
Man, are you excited about this day?
I couldn't be more excited and a little nervous, I got to tell you.
Gee, I don't know why. I mean, why would you be nervous on the day of your book launch? I mean, what's there to be nervous about?
Yeah, we do this every day, right? Yeah.
Right. So, Greg, before we go too far, I'm just going to say, first I got to plug your book because that's something that has to be done. So Greg's book is called The Road to Purpose, and it's the roadmap for overcoming life's major transitions. And pretty cool, today, this book is available for as little as 99 cents on Amazon. In fact, you can go pick it up there, the Kindle version for 99 cents on Amazon, and pick up the paperback too, if you like, and be prepared to be both entertained and inspired by this book. So, Greg, why don't you tell us something about yourself? Like, give us some background on who you are.
Oh gosh, well, I don't really even know where to start here. I'm a typical person. Spent most of my entire life working in corporate life. Came from an awesome family in a small town, taught to work hard, and believe that what you believed you could have if you were willing to work for it. So I did exactly that. I started out in global strategy, worked for some major companies, phenomenal companies in their own right in the space that I was in. And one day, 30 years later, it was time to leave those companies, and I found myself really questioning what I was going to do next. And going through all of the thoughts in my own head that comes with that transition. For me, that transition was leaving 30 years of security and certainty and good income and benefits and great people to work with on great brands that I was working with, all of a sudden to have nothing to do or no idea what I was going to do next. And that was not something that I was used to at all. I've always all my life known what I was going to do next. And the funny thing is, when that happened, I met other people that were in the same place I was in, including young people that were looking for what am I going to do with my life? And they're, at this time, 18, 19, 20 years old. So that's really what got us to this point. When I finished, short of something important to do, I did something I never do. I randomly went on a long road trip. And let me just tell you, I do nothing randomly. I was a planner. I was a person that always knew where I was going, how I was going to get there, what the steps were. And one day, my wife and I got in a car, and we just started driving, not knowing where our stops were even going to be. 2 months later, I came out of that experience. My wife had flown home earlier, and I came out of that experience with this sense of purpose, this understanding of who I was and what I was to do next. And it was not an easy journey. And that's what this book is about, really, is to share that journey and the lessons I learned, unintentional lessons I learned, that has really helped change the perspective of my life and the clients I now coach every day in their own transitions in life and how to overcome those and make the best out of them. So, Everett, that's pretty much a little bit about me up to this point.
Wow. So, I mean, this really comes out of this journey and this time of introspection and reflection, and so you've been inspired to help others, because obviously, so you did this after 30 years of a career, going through this monster transition, and this is, I think, something I appreciate about what you've created is you've created a tool that's not just for someone going through a midlife crisis or having to look back and wonder what they've done and what they're going to do, but also those people earlier in life evaluating the choices that they're making amidst transition. And I think that's powerful. What was your first kind of inspiration in regards to doing the book itself?
Well, that's funny that you would ask that question. Believe me, writing a book is not something that's ever been on a list, a bucket list. It's not something I really enjoy doing. In fact, the people that actually helped me with the edits on this book had a hard time at first because I was using all kinds of creative uses of the English language in the book. So to answer that question, it's really the time writing this book really came to be after I took this trip. And I got to tell you, on the trip, not knowing what I wanted to do next, on the trip, I started out angry, frustrated. You know, I had looked at my entire life that was a successful, great life, that I'd climbed this ladder to get to the top, and realized when I got there that the ladder was leaning against the wrong building. I was successful, but empty inside. And I think today, in my generation, as well as the latest generation, we are searching for what it is, checking those boxes to make sure that we feel successful ourselves on the inside, but also allowing other people to see us as successful, because we're not always comfortable with who we are. And that was going through me as an adult, moving into the second half of my life. But I saw that same thing happening with young people. And it really saddened me that they were going into a life checking boxes without any real meaning or fulfillment behind those boxes. And it led to this trip. The trip taught me lessons by being with real people along the way that I had forgotten over those 30 years of chasing a dream that was successful but not fulfilling. And through that period of time, I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about others and the way they had handled, in very courageous ways in some cases, how they had handled adversity and changes in their life, not just careers, but deaths in the family, with changes in marital status, with children that were going down the wrong path and no solutions on how to help them get back, with people that had started with absolutely nothing, and through their own will, their own desire, and their own purpose, we're doing great things. And because of that trip and the learning that I learned, I felt it was important to share that with other people. I do that now on a one-to-one basis in coaching and training programs in the new company that I started 5 years ago. But I also felt a need to share that on a much broader basis, and a book was a way to do that. Book and eventually speaking engagements and really sharing those tricks and those mind hacks in order to get around your own self and be your best person living this life of meaning and purpose. Books was a way I could do that on a mass scale while I continue to do it on a one-on-one and group basis through coaching and training. So that's how the book came to be. It was never intended. You know how life sometimes happens to you. The master of the universe puts things in your way sometimes to make you take detours, and that's what happened. And the book was at the end of one of those detours.
Well, and I'm glad it was, because, you know, by putting it in a book, you put it in a format that is accessible to anybody. You know, paperback, it's Kindle. You know, perhaps you'll be doing an audiobook later or something like that. The other part, though, is that it's here for, you know, for generations to come. It's not limited to, you know, some video that you put out and, you know, and 6 months later or 6 minutes later is you know, no longer being seen. You've got this, and other people will be able to benefit from your journey. On that topic, if you're joining us kind of midstream here, I'm speaking with Greg Pestinger, the author of The Road to Purpose, a roadmap to overcoming life's major transitions. And you can pick up this book today. Today is launch day, and as such, there's a launch day special. The Kindle version is 99 cents on Amazon today. The paperback version is also available there. So please certainly pick that up. So, Greg, I'm going to share some comments with you and some questions, and that people are asking on the comment log. So first, who's Donna?
Donna Pestinger is now my wife of 26 years, my biggest cheerleader. She is the one that has seen me at the top of my mountains and in the depths of hell. She is the person that's been with me in my entire life, whether good or bad. So she knows this book. She lived this book with me for the past 26 years, and really was part of the reason why I got into coaching and training in the first place. Why I saw this huge opportunity in helping people have better lives. Why my life is now fulfilled because of it. So she is grace in my life. That's my wife.
Wow. Well, I love her comment here. I'm going to read it to you just in case. I don't know how far your monitor is away, but she says, "I'm beyond thrilled, honored, and proud. You amaze me on a daily basis, and today is no exception. Congratulations, my love." That's fantastic.
Thank you. That's awesome. She's trying to make me cry, Everett.
Keep going, Donna. Keep going. All right. So Jake had a question for you. He says, "What was the best part about writing the book?"
I would say the best part about writing the book, for me personally, was the reliving the people and the places that I had been with, the permission to be vulnerable. And I think that is something that, people my age, men in particular, don't allow themselves to be vulnerable, to allow the real self to come out for fear that, we might be rejected or seen as weak or what have you. It was really in vulnerability that I saw in all these people and later accepted as a way to love myself, allowing myself to be vulnerable so that I could just be me. And I think that's the best part about writing the book, was reliving a lot of the people and the experiences and the time inside my head and with others who are struggling in their own lives for whatever reason and doing very well, being very, very resilient about it. So writing the book, I think, was a way to document that life-changing experience for me and use it to help other people, in particular young people, that to this day breaks my heart when I hear words like, "I've been very successful in life, yet I'm empty inside." You know what? I experienced that same thing. It took me 30 years, and I'm determined that through things like this book and talks and coaching and training and the other things that we do, that we're going to end this plight of young people trying to find meaning and purpose. I believe we can do it. I believe we are obligated to do it. I believe it is a big, big need, and I hope this book helps young people see that in themselves. Parents, coaches, teachers see that in young people, and then get busy, get to work, helping them find meaning and purpose, helping them find inside themselves that potential that we all have that sometimes we're afraid to let out. Writing the book gave me permission to do that. And in doing so, like always, personally, I grew even more. I've read the book 4 times, and I, believe it or not, I lived it, but I get something new out of it every time I read it. And that's a strange thing considering I lived it. So it's been a really, really good experience.
On that note, in fact, there's a comment here and a question from Malia. She says, "Do you have a favorite excerpt or story from the book that you can share with us?"
I think it's a very, by the way, there are very vulnerable sections in the book. I'm going to leave a little less vulnerable one, but the story I think that has the most meaning for me was the turning point. When I went from being angry and frustrated to being empty, to then starting to figure out what I was going to do next, then having issues of confidence and the voices in your head that say, "What are you doing? You're at the time 50 years old, and you're talking about starting a company. You're talking about doing what? What's wrong with you? Go get a safe job." So I was about halfway through the trip, and I saw people doing extraordinary things along the way. And I can remember I was headed away from Hoover Dam, and I was headed to the Grand Canyon. 50 years old, never been to the Grand Canyon. The sun was going down, and I thought, what the hell? I'll check the box. I'll go see this big hole in the ground. So I made a side detour to go to the Grand Canyon, 7 o'clock at night or so. And it was a turning point where I knew that I wasn't alone in this world. And And in that turning point, I saw true beauty in places that I had only flown over before, that I'd made fun of being deserted and desolate. And why would people want to go there? There was no commerce there. Why would anybody want to be there? And that trip from that point straight north through the state of Utah that I'd, quite frankly, had flown over thousands of times to destinations all over the place, had never been in what I consider to be true beauty on earth. And it was 12 hours to Boise, Idaho was the stop. That's a lot of time to be with yourself in your head. And let me tell you, if you're used to finding distractions so that you don't have to face yourself, to talk to yourself, to like yourself, 12 hours in a car alone in the desert, you don't have much choice but to basically get it straightened out. And that's probably one of the most meaningful places. That was a turning point where when that was over, I knew what I was supposed to do. So that was one of them. Not one of the most vulnerable ones, but one I can talk to on camera without losing it. So.
All right. Well, I mean, Donna may be trying to make you cry, but I guess I won't push on that. You know, I guess blubbering is not really all that attractive on a
level. Well, I wasn't a crier up to 5 years ago. I was emotionally, I had a shield up till this trip, and this trip actually gave me the grace of being me and allowing people in, and that's a big deal. And there's a whole lot of us, a whole lot of people, old and young alike, that need this gift, and an obligation of all of us who work with them, who interact with them in our families and at work, in school, who we mentor. A lot of that, it's up to us, and that's why we're here on this planet, to make a difference in other people's lives. And the funny thing is, when you do that, it makes a difference in your own. That's the big lesson of this story.
Wow. You've got people commenting here about this, and it's pretty great. And I thank you for doing that. So Jake actually asked a good question as well, and said, what was, it's like, we know that writing a book is a journey too. Right. We know writing a book is a journey too. And I think he asked, what was the most challenging part about that process?
Well, I will tell you, and I think this is a good point to pull out a little tip. And I'm going to say a tip for writing a book, a tip for getting in shape, a tip for expanding your business beyond where you think it can go, a tip for setting goals for yourself that you think are unreachable. And that's the whole notion of getting a coach. So writing a book, especially when you're not a writer, is extremely hard and difficult. And believe me, the thoughts in your own head say, what are you doing? You're not a writer, you're a marketing guy, or you're a coach, or you're whatever. Getting a coach is an important part. And I was fortunate enough to have one of the best, hyper best book coaches, I think, on the planet. Her name's Kathy Fayot. And her company helps authors write books, but particularly business books, but helps authors write books. And she has this thing, and excuse the language, but I'm going to say it. She has this thing called the bitch. And the bitch, in her definition, is the voices that get in your head that tell you you're not enough, you're not able. Why are you doing this? In her words, and in the manifesto that we all recite every day, those voices in your head make it for hard times of writing, when you just don't want to write, or you don't think what you want to write people want to hear. You hear, well, they'll never read it. Why are you writing it anyway? All these kind of things. And having a book coach that cares enough, that does the hard things when you're being a brat about not wanting to write, and basically says, do you want to do this or not? You committed to doing this. Why are you not doing this? The toughness of that, the accountability of that, is what pushes you past those times. So writing a book for me was not easy. And especially as I was going through some of the thought processes of why I was doing it in the first place, to have someone like Kathy not judging me, but pushing me and pushing me and pushing me is why this book got completed. So for people like me, if it wasn't for people like Kathy and quite frankly, Everett and our publishers and the copy, the editors and the editorial boards that looked at the book, prior to even going to the professional editing process, would not be done. It just plain and simple wouldn't be done for people like me.
So first, I'm going to absolutely echo what you're saying about Kathy Fyock, to the point that we went ahead and put her email address into the chat log here.
Nice.
And if you have people watching this that are like, I want to write a book, and you understand the value of a coach to help you through that journey, absolutely reach out to Kathy. She's phenomenal. We've had the opportunity to work with a number of her clients, and who all say things like you just said. So clearly, she's got a consistent approach that creates results. And the other thing, Greg, I think for another, and it just goes along with what you've said about getting a coach, is team, right? It's about team, and you've assembled around you a team to help you on this journey. And I think Jake has been a great help for you. I think Jonathan, I think there's others on your team that I just haven't had the chance to meet that have helped you along this journey as well. And then, of course, you chose to engage us and our team on this journey to help make this book a success. And I think in life, that is an approach that we all need to take. It's very easy for us to think we're going to go it alone. We're mavericks. Nobody else is going to understand what we want to do anyway, or no one's going to care enough about it to go. But finding people that can come along on that journey is incredibly important as well, which you've been proving out at every step.
It's for me, and it's in the book. I think chapter 10, when I talk about leading from the sidelines, standing on the shoulders of giants, I've been extremely fortunate in all my life, to have really, really good mentors, and it's key. No one does this alone. I was one of the people that said, you know what, sign me up. I'm going to do this alone. I can do this alone. I have the ability to force myself through it. But looking back, the trip not only showed me that, but looking back on my life that led to this trip was all about surrounding yourself with the people that care enough about you to push you forward, to give up their time, which, by the way, the most valuable resource we all have is time. Once it's gone, to help you move forward. Sometimes that's through encouragement. Sometimes for people that are bullheaded like me, it's through accountability. Always, it's about love. And I think that is really important. And as Everett said, not only Everett's team, but a team of coaches that I have here that I hire for myself that work with me to help me get ahead. But people like Jake Benson, who is handling all of the marketing for this, and Jonathan, who's a brilliant writer and coach that's helping me keep check, so to speak. For all of the young people that I had the opportunity to work with, that gave me back way more than I even gave them. For people at the university that we do stuff with, when I look back now, it's never about us. I'm sitting here in this chair talking to you, but I'm representing probably 30 or 40 people. My fraternity, who has given me courage and meaning and purpose, and the definition of what that is, so that I know what I'm actually living right now. It's an amazing thing to sit back, and humbling to sit back and think about all of this leading up to this trip. And then the trip ends up in a book. And hopefully what it really ends up with is in helping thousands and thousands and thousands of people overcome their own self-doubt, limiting beliefs, their own insecurities and uncertainty, to realize that the grass is always greener on the other side if you decide it is. If you make a decision that it's going to be, and then you move forward. That's what a team of coaches and a team of support and family and friends and fraternity brothers and all the people that never allowed me to just be average. And I think that is important. And I think it's the secret to life, is incorporating people in your life to help not only you be better, but to help you help them be better, and in turn the whole world gets better. I don't know how to say it any better than that.
I don't know if it can be said better. Donna put in another comment. I'm just going to put it up on the screen here. I love when you hesitate as you speak. I know you're fighting back that emotional part, because I've always worn my heart on my sleeves. It's okay to share. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be you, because you are awesome. I love it. I do want to pass on. There's a question here, and it's a big question, and so I think we go down part of this, and that is, can you speak to some of the most influential people you've come into contact with and how they've impacted your life? Maybe just mention one or two, and don't feel like it's got to be the most influential, because now that puts you in a real pressure spot. Just need to be an influential person.
Wow. I've had many. I've had many really influential people. Starting with probably my parents, but we all say that, but mine were extra special. That's where I learned that you can have anything you want if you're willing to work for it. The secret part, that last part of that, willing to work for it. I learned more about business from my father than I did with multiple master's degrees in business. Incredible people. My family all started with nothing and have all made something of themselves. So that example was huge. I've had a couple people that have said things. My late grandmother was one. She made it okay to be me. That was pretty awesome. I have a business partner who taught me to get out of my own way. That's a piece of advice I'll give all of you: get out of your own way. And then young people, Jake and John, every single day teach me something new. They get in my face. They're young. They're full of life and vigor and hope. And they're quite talented. Fraternity brothers that gave me a chance when I was brand new in the organization, coming back as a volunteer to take on really high level education roles that allowed me to teach and be taught and mentor and do things that I would never have had the opportunity to do. There's just so many. I'm going to miss somebody by saying it, but it's.
No, that's why I said just some, not you know.
I will tell you, they're in the book. There's stories about each of them in the book. So I'll have to say, go out and get the 99-cent book, and you'll hear their stories.
I'll tell you what. I want to end with one last question. This one came from Chris Simmons, and that is, how do we get out of our own way? I have a feeling I need to hear more about that one. And I also know that this is not necessarily something that gets answered completely in 60 seconds. But take that on just briefly.
I'm going to give you a really quick and obvious answer. Easier said than done, but decide to. You've got to decide to get out of your own way. You've got to make the choice. You have control over your choices, your feelings, the way you react to things. You have to decide to. And there are a number of techniques in the book to help you do just that. But decision and choice is something we all have, and quite frankly, it is the thing that we must execute in our own lives to have a successful and fulfilling life. We must decide to. We must decide to be a victor, not give in to being a victim. And in this society today, a high percentage of people are willing just to give in and say, you know what, life's happening to me, not much I can do. Instead of thinking about life happening for me, it's all up to me and the people I surround myself with. So that's the short answer for how you get out of your own way.
All right. Well, I don't think we can end on any better note than that, Greg. So let me wrap this up. But Greg, just thank you again for
Thank you.
pouring your heart and soul into the book, and into what you do, and into the people that you impact. You're a guy with a huge heart and a mission that you share openly and freely, and that alone is a lesson
Hmm.
for people, because there are a lot of people who have, they don't share open and freely, and they are afraid to kind of bare their souls about it. So thank you for doing what you're doing. Let me go ahead and kind of wrap this up with your book. And again, this is The Road to Purpose. It is the roadmap for overcoming life's major transitions by Greg Pestinger. And I recommend you pick it up today on Amazon, where you can get it for 99 cents on the Kindle version, or you can pick up the paperback as well. Anything you do there really helps support Greg's launch and helps expand this mission and expand and get the message out to more and more people. So please do that today. So again, this is Everett O'Keefe from Ignite Press signing out. Thank you again for joining us. Oh, I missed the click for the bumper. Here's the bumper.